UNICEF.org/free.
UNICEF says 65 to 70% of Gaza's water system is damaged, making it impossible to pump through traditional pipelines. Spokesman Jonathan Crick says no aid is getting into the Strip either.
We are going to have more and more challenges in the coming weeks in terms of production and distribution of water.
Aid workers have set up water distribution points and rely on water trucking. The final stage of jury selection in the sex trafficking and racketeering trial of Sean Diddy Combs has been postponed to early next week at the request of the defense. FIFA confirms that the Women's World Cup will increase from 32 to 48 teams in 2031 when the U.S. is expected to host the tournament. FIFA wants to expand so the women and men's tournaments match. It's like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, but the golden ticket that Tom Stuker bought years ago was for flying anywhere in the world.
Back in 1990, he bought a lifetime pass on United Airlines for him and a companion. The price? $510,000. Sounds expensive, but that pass lets him fly first class anywhere, anytime.
Basically take my brother and say, hey, let's go down to Dallas and buy some cowboy boots. Or the next day, on Friday, I say, honey, let's go to Paris for the weekend.
And get this, he earns reward points on those miles.
ABC's Andrew Dimbert says Stuker has used those points on everything from donating to charity to remodeling a home. Dave Packer, ABC News.
Progressive presents Employee of the Month. Small Business Edition. Today's recipient from Lucky Larry's Landscaping, Larry! Larry saved his business money with a quick commercial auto quote from Progressive. Does it help he's his own marketing manager, accountant, executive assistant, and never been late? Technically, yes, but saving really put him over the edge. So, Larry, give Larry a round of applause. Be your own Larry. See if you could save in as little as 7 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KBNU.
5:05 on this gorgeous Friday afternoon, and with your KBNU News headlines, I'm Will Feeling. Well, with the start of the summer travel season just around the corner, the Utah Highway Patrol is reminding people to buckle up, especially elderly drivers and young passengers. Now, law enforcers across the state will begin their annual Click It or Ticket enforcement campaign on May 19th. UHP Lieutenant Cameron Roden said the state has had a primary seatbelt law on the books since 2015, meaning that a driver can be pulled over for anyone in their vehicle not wearing a seatbelt. Now, when the law was passed, seatbelt usage in the state was around 83%. Now, while seatbelt usage in Utah has climbed to over 92% in 2023, it did slip a little bit last year, according to Roden. Now, when the Department of Public Safety broke down the data even further, they found out that over the past 5 years, the worst violators during the day were between the ages of 5 and 14 and 80 and 84. Now, those not buckling up at night were mainly between the ages of 10 and 19 and 74 and 79. And police have arrested a 19-year-old Logan man and are searching for 2 others accused of sexually harassing a woman for several years. The incidents reportedly occurred at a Logan restaurant where the 4 were employed. Now, according to jail records, Walls the Wall was booked on April 24th into the Cache County Jail following an investigation by the Logan City Police Department. Now, several days later, a judge issued warrants for the arrests of 2 other suspects, Santosh Tiwari, a 41-year-old, and Kamar Akshat, a 29-year-old. Now, the cases against the 3 men began in August 2024 when the alleged victim reported years of being sexually assaulted and verbally berated. Now, most of the incidents occurred in the kitchen area of the restaurant outside the view of customers, according to arrest affidavits. Now, the woman told police how the 3 men allegedly would often touch her buttocks or squeeze her breasts while she would be cleaning or doing dishes. Now, at other times, they would make unwanted sexual advances, attempting to kiss her or talk and joke about her body. Now, the alleged victim said that she was afraid to report the abuse because even though she is in the country legally on a work visa, she feared that if she did not work at the restaurant, then she would be deported. And Bishop Oscar Solis with the Salt Lake City Diocese pledged his loyalty to the new pope at the Cathedral of the Madeleine yesterday, just moments after Cardinal Robert Prevost, a 69-year-old from Chicago, became the first American pontiff. Now, he took on the name of Leo XIV. Bishop Sola said that having a pope from America teaches about the universality of God's love. Meanwhile, the First Presidency of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints extended prayers and greetings to the new pope on behalf of leaders and members of the church. In a statement, the First Presidency said, quote, "This significant moment in time for the Catholic Church is a reminder of the enduring importance of faith to people everywhere," end of quote. Now, members of the First Presidency also said they look forward to working together to bless God's children and fellow followers of Christ. Well, if you love today, then tomorrow, well, it's going to be even better, as we're going to continue to see these clear skies that we enjoyed today continuing into Saturday. As overnight tonight, temperatures will drop into the low 50s. Saturday, we'll see temperatures around 83 for our high. And then clouds coming in Saturday night, and that's going to bring a chance of some isolated scattered showers and thunderstorms beginning on Sunday for Mother's Day. And those showers expected to continue through much of next week. And I'm Will Feelwright with your KVNU News headlines. News and weather this hour brought to you by Logan Extermination, helping to green up your lawn and keep those creepy bugs out of your home. It's Logan Extermination.
Ah, spring. That time of year when you turn up the heat in the morning and the air conditioner in the afternoon. If you're constantly adjusting your thermostat just to stay comfortable, it might be time to talk insulation. You see, today's insulation is superior to what they used to put in homes. Not only does it help regulate the temperature inside, but it can also slash your energy bills. Or maybe you just need to insulate your attic, garage, or a specific room? No problem. Call Cardall's Insulation, 755-5012. That's 755-5012.
When news breaks, we break in. News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
Struggling to find the perfect Mother's Day gift? Skip the sweets and the short-lived gifts. Give her something that lasts. Head to Anderson's Seed and Garden in Logan. From vibrant annuals and blooming baskets to veggie plants and fruit or shade trees, there's something that she'll love and enjoy for years. Need advice? Just ask Mark. Make gift-giving easy this Mother's Day at Anderson's Seed and Garden. 69 West Center, Logan. Anderson's Seed and Garden. Beautifying backyards and making moms smile.
Here's what some of our patients have to say about how Red River has changed their lives.
So before I started at Red River, I was having a lot of stomach pain. I was overweight, severe anxiety. I had been to multiple doctors. We had done tests, and no one could find anything that was wrong. And then a friend mentioned Red River, and I went and saw him, and it has changed my whole life. I'm sleeping through the night. I have energy for my kids. I've lost 30 pounds. No more stomach pains. I just feel really good.
Our goal is to focus on imbalances that are driving your condition or symptoms, not just give you Band-Aid answers. So when a patient comes to our office, we'll sit down with them extensively and go over their blood work to find out the underlying imbalances driving their symptoms.
Call Red River Health and Wellness at 855-55-RIVER. With offices in Logan, South Jordan, Springville, and St. George.
Call Red River today.
Your landscape should be a place to relax, entertain, and spend family time. Canyon Landscaping designs and installs livable landscapes that define space in new or existing yards. Hardscapes with retaining walls, paver and stone patios and walkways. Each create privacy, interest, and purpose. Plus fire pits and sitting walls to add value to any yard. Go to canyonlandscaping.com for more details. Then call to schedule your free consultation. Call 752-3838 or go to canyonlandscaping.com. Canyon Landscaping. Look for the leaf.
The Above and Beyond Salute.
Hello?
This Mindy Brown?
Yes.
Hey, I understand you're a special education teacher. Is that right?
Yes, that is true.
Someone reached out to us and told us about the job that you do in the classroom. And I just wanted to reach out to you and ask if you'd like to enjoy free lunch at Firehouse Subs.
Oh my gosh, yes, I would love that.
The Above and Beyond Salute, sponsored by Firehouse Subs on News Talk KVNU.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. It's time for the For the People Movie Show. Andy Morgan joining us here in just a bit. It's a pretty big set of releases over the next few weeks. We have quite a bit coming very rapidly, one week after another. So if you've kind of not really plugged in, if you're a summer movie season person and you haven't really plugged in yet, you're going to want to very quickly because there is a lot coming. The big opener this weekend, and surprisingly, this did actually come to Logan. Andy and I last week both predicted it would not, but it is actually playing at the Providence Theater, and it is called Clown in a Cornfield. It plays at 7:50 and 10:15 this evening. It is rated R. It is a horror movie. And one critic I saw earlier today, we'll have Andy's review for it here in a minute, but one critic I saw earlier today said this was the funniest movie of the year so far. And, yeah. So it's based on a series of books by an author that I believe his name is pronounced Adam Cesar. And he won the Bram Stoker Award for this series of books, not just the first one. And he also is famous for a graphic novel called Dead Mall. And he's written quite a few shorter novels and novellas, as they're called. Those are novels that are around 100 pages. Not quite a short story, but not quite a full-on novel. And he specializes in young adult fiction. But Clown in a Cornfield is a straight-up, traditional, kind of 80s-style horror movie story. The book. I haven't seen the movie. I read the first book. Andy's read all 3 books in the trilogy. And if you're curious, those are Clown in a Cornfield, Volume 1, which this film hitting theaters tonight is based on. Then the second book is Friendo Lives. And the third book is The Church of Friendo. And, well, who's Friendo? Here's just a little bit from the Clown in a Cornfield trailer.
They're really big on tradition around here.
Every year, there's this parade where everyone gathers around the Friendo float.
Friendo? It's the clown on all the Bay Pen corn syrup labels. He's practically a local legend.
Smile, silly girl. You're about to become a sensation.
It's directed by the man behind Tucker and Dale versus Evil. If you've never seen that, well, you probably won't care. But if you have seen that, then you know what kind of horror comedy you're in for here. By the way, I highly recommend Tucker and Dale versus Evil if you're a horror movie fan. Because it is Tucker and Dale versus Evil, several years old now at this point. I think a decade old, maybe. I first saw this at Sundance, of all places. But Tucker and Dale versus Evil is a Friday the 13th style slasher flick, but with the tables turned because of a misunderstanding, and they thinking they're defending themselves against killer hillbillies. The teenagers are actually the bad guys in this movie because the two brothers, Tucker and Dale, were literally just trying to help. But the teenagers don't know that or misunderstand that, and they decide to, thinking they were defending themselves, they decide to go on the offensive to protect themselves from what they think, again, are two murderous hillbillies. And it doesn't sound like it'd be funny. It's hilarious the way it's done. And Tucker and Dale versus Evil director, again, behind in the director's chair for Clown in a Cornfield. This is, one more time, rated R, and it's, I'm guessing, rated R for the very reasons most of those Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street style slasher flicks are rated R. Those reasons. A lot of over-the-top fake gore and creative violence. But the story of this one is basically a fading Midwestern town And Friendo is the clown on the logo of a company that makes corn syrup that once employed almost everyone in town, but they've shut the factory down to move it overseas, or, well, I don't really know what the story is there. I don't remember, but they've shut the factory down, and it's led to high unemployment in the town. And that's kind of what sets the stage for what the synopsis describes as chills, memorable set pieces, and messy mayhem. Clown in a Cornfield is sure to electrify both young horror audiences and fans of classic slasher movies. So this is geared towards teen horror movie fans, but it is rated R. So we're talking 18 and above teens. And it is well, like I say, I haven't seen the film. I read the book. It is pretty funny. I mean, even as a book, I laughed a couple of times. And there's nothing creepier than a clown. This is... It's funny because, Andy, you and I talked about this when we were first talking about this before the movie came out, that this had been made into a movie. We talked about how this book... A lot of people are going to see this and go, they're totally stealing so many ideas from Stephen King. And yeah, that's kind of the point, right? Like this is a not at all veiled attempt to play on some of those classic 80s horror movie tropes, right?
Yeah, I think that's part of it. But I also think it's also a setup, not to... give any spoilers. Everybody's scared of clowns. Killer clowns from outer space. Pennywise. Can you think of another scary clown?
The most famous scary clown.
I mean, clowns.
The one in Poltergeist.
Yes, yeah.
How can I forget? It's a tiny little clown, but man, is that a scary clown?
Yeah, and honestly, if you think about it, I can't remember. Was it published in 85 or 86?
I think 86.
You got to think that, I haven't read anything from Stephen King if that's an inspiration, but I have to think, it just seems like impeccable timing.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. So clown in a cornfield, not in the cornfield. There's a clown in a cornfield.
In a cornfield.
Not in the cornfield. The one where where if you build it, they will come. Which also would be a kind of a cool crossover.
Nice mashup, right?
Yeah, kind of a cool crossover movie.
Kevin Costner in a baseball movie with a homicidal clown.
You want to play catch? Ah! And then there comes...
These are two movies.
Yeah, I don't like this. No, so this book was recommended to me, and the reason I got into the book wasn't...
I'm like 50 pages from the end, but I'm loving it.
Well...
It's funny.
Yeah,
and creepy.
Yeah, what kind of sold me on it was the fact that the writer and director behind Tucker and Dale versus Evil was doing the movie. So I thought, okay, if this guy's doing the movie, then the book has to be good,
because that movie is. This is how I set up for listeners. Just before you walked into the studio, I said Tucker and Dale versus Evil is one of those movies where in the back of your head, you shouldn't be laughing. You know it's wrong. But at the same time, just the plot alone, the murderous hillbillies are actually the victims.
Yeah.
Because of a misunderstanding with a group of teens who then fight back.
Yeah,
they're not actually fighting back because the murderous hillbillies weren't murderous. They just wanted to help, and that alone is funny.
Yeah,
but then several of the scenes are just, I don't know, the way it's done, laugh out loud funny. So
yeah, and I would say here's the thing, but I really wish that I
hadn't read the book.
No, kind of.
That you just seen the movie?
There's a couple things. If you're going blind into the movie and you haven't read the book, nobody's seen it today. And I don't think, I'll have to double check, but I'm almost 1,000,000% sure it's not playing local here.
It is. I'm surprised. It's in Providence.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
They changed up the schedule. So, yeah.
I was shocked because it was not on there last week.
Fantastic. No, that's good. So here's what I'd say to the listeners. If you see this tonight or over the weekend or next week, when we come to next Friday's movie show, what I want to know is if somebody that hasn't read the book, I want them to call us next Friday and let us know if there was any shocking surprises in it. And here, because it's kind of got what I would say, not the same thing, but it's similar to like Gone Girl. If you've read Gone Girl, you go to the movie and you go, okay.
Yeah.
Because you know what's coming, right?
Yeah.
In Clown in a Cornfield, I've read the book. I've read all the books. And so I got to be honest, it kind of ruined the movie for me.
Knowing the surprise or the twist?
Yeah, the twist. And, I had some of the...
I don't know the twist yet. I tried so hard, knowing we were going to be talking about this today, I tried so hard to stay up and finish it last night. And 50 pages.
We'll talk during the next break, and I'll find out where you're on the book, because there's a few twists. There's a couple. There's a bigger one at the end, and then there's one in the middle where you kind of go, oh.
That one I know.
Yeah. And
which I thought was cool.
But what I love about this, and so here's what I would say, regardless of the movie,
the twist in the middle is when I realized, I get why it's a trilogy.
Yes. Well, and
I get why this needed to be three books.
I have to tip my hat to the author, and I'm going to get his name wrong. I think it's Adam Caesar or Caesar. Yeah. Anyway,
Google says it's pronounced Caesar, but
well, let's say
that doesn't sound right.
Adam Caesar. The author really paints this. He twists you in the first book to you're really like, man, these teenagers are really annoying, and it really brings kind of like some of the youth of today, kind of like you and I talk about all the time, like get off my lawn stuff.
Yeah.
Where, we're like, these kids and their lingo and their cell phones and the socials and the Instagrams and the TikToks, that kind of stuff.
Because there is an influencer character.
Yes.
And she's irritating.
Well, and their whole, shtick in the book is like
purpose.
They make, videos like those kind of gotcha videos where like these teenagers, like what's the kid? I don't know what his name is, but Jack something or other, big guy on YouTube. Yeah. He's the one that, he runs in, he just annoys people.
Yeah.
And then they film the guys getting upset, their reactions. That's a thing. That's a thing on social media, obviously.
Mr. Beast. Giving people $100 to do ludicrous stuff. And,
yeah. And so there's a little bit about that. And I think and I'm going to use this expression, but the book doesn't really ever call this out, but it's kind of like, what if you had sort of like a contingent of like really old, like kind of MAGA types versus like some really, just annoying today's teenagers kind of doing battle. That's what I would say the underlying theme of the Clown in a Cornfield is. But when you get into
it kind of has a reverse, back to Stephen King references, it has a reverse Children of the Corn feel to it.
That is a perfect way to describe it. I in fact, there's nothing else I could say that would perfectly describe Clown in a Cornfield without really spoiling it, right?
Yeah. For those not familiar, Children of the Corn, also based on a Stephen King short story.
A lot of corns and clowns.
A lot of corn and clowns in this. No, the Children of the Corn doesn't have a clown, but it has that really creepy short guy.
Malachi. Or no, is it what was
He's
the
not
red?
Malachi.
What's the red-haired guy? That's Malachi.
I can't remember what the short creepy. Yeah. Anyway,
it's probably Damien. Anyway,
so in Children of the Corn, the kids, once you turn 18, you have to take your own life. You can't become an adult. And they've already killed off all the adults in this village in Nebraska. Well, they don't really tell you where it is in Children of the Corn. So
I think it's Nebraska.
So this
You're
is
right.
Clown in the Cornfield isn't exactly similar to that, but kind of a reverse theme where you have the adults have it out for the kids. And then sometimes as you're meeting the kids, you're like, I get it. I'd probably want you to leave town too, you little influencer nerd.
Yeah, no, I think I
like those dynamics because it gets to, I think, some very real things that are going on these days.
Yeah,
when it comes to social media and how online and connected we are, and are the kids growing up, are they okay?
Well, I also
are they more okay than us? Maybe.
Yeah. No. I would also say to kind of finish your thought there is, if you just read these books 1, 2, and 3, so it's Clown in a Cornfield, and then there's Clown in a Cornfield 2, Friendo Lives.
Yeah.
And then the
spoiler.
Yeah. And then
Not that that's a surprise in a horror story.
And then the third book is Clown in a Cornfield 3, The Church of Friendo.
Yeah.
And
these are great because even the covers of the book have like a schlocky 80s horror movie look
very
to
much. But also the author has such a great way. There's some social commentary that expands in each book.
Really?
That kind of hits at a different thing that our country is kind of going through. But it's not so in your face that you're like, oh, stop preaching to me. It's more of like, it honestly kind of causes you to step back and think.
See, now he's done that with his graphic novels too.
Yeah.
He did some graphic novels that I got to watch, basically a video that was made off of stills from the graphic novel at Comic-Con 2 years ago. And they did it like a movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it's similar. He plays on very well. I mean, I hate to do this a third time. Like Stephen King, he plays on very current events in a way, and uses them as kind of propellants in this horror story.
Yeah, I think you do that very. Yeah.
So I got to ask though, how does that hold up in a movie? Because as I'm reading the book, knowing this is already a movie coming out.
I was disappointed.
Okay,
I was
because I wondered if you can translate that to a.
There are some 1-to-1 literal recreations of things from the book in the movie.
Okay,
I thought there's one of the characters in the book. His name is Cole, and he's kind of like, at the beginning of the show, the beginning of the book, you think he's just kind of like the town jock. He's a jerk.
Yeah,
that type of thing, and you can, as the book goes on, you realize that's not really an entirely accurate, judgment of him. The kid they got to play Cole in this is perfect. There's some other thing I didn't really like the casting of all the girls in it. It didn't quite fit. I guess again what I built up in my head, but the biggest problem is. When the cornfield portion hits in like mid book, there is a lot going on in multiple, and they just forget about half of it. They forget about half of it.
That's what I wondered.
Yeah,
because the book, despite being a short kind of young adult novel style novel, it gets pretty dense.
Yeah, and I mean,
parts, and it moves really fast.
If you think about, there's probably 10 minutes of credits or less, maybe 8 minutes of credits. This movie really is about an hour and 30 minutes, and it's
really.
I'm not suggesting that it should have been a 3-hour movie, but an hour and 30 minutes was not enough time to do the material justice. So I don't know if there'll be a director's cut, and maybe this is a studio pushed thing, but I mean, they really don't spend a lot of time on. The whole factory and Bay Pen, they completely changed the beginning. How the beginning starts. In the book, it's basically Cole and all his friends and everybody. They're at this like reservoir and they're kind of cliff jumping, as it were, to some degree. And Cole, his little sister, ends up cliff jumping and she gets hurt. And then you find out later that she's died. Now, that's not a big spoiler.
No,
that's not a big spoiler.
Yeah.
But that's kind of how the book kicks off.
Yeah, the book starts with that.
Yeah,
right?
it
Isn't
starts
that the
with
first
that.
scene in the book.
Does not happen in this. And they kind of change that. It's not.
That's too bad because I actually thought that was a great start.
Because
you immediately know he's troubled.
Yeah, and
for good reason.
Yeah, and what this loses, in my opinion, the movie loses. I don't want to say the social commentary, but it just kind of loses. It loses the oomph that makes it kind of go. The soul of the movie, I feel, is gone. I think the focus really is on the clowns and sort of like, and that's. I mean, honestly, that's it. Like
really?
A lot of the deaths, and it would be different if like they were really going for like, there were some deaths in this where you were like, oh my gosh, I've never seen that before in movies. it really it was a letdown to me as a fan of the book. I felt like it just did not land where it needed to be.
But you think if you hadn't read the book, you probably would have thought this is a great horror movie?
I mean, I don't know. I wish I could go back in time, Jason.
Because maybe I won't finish the book. Maybe I'll go see this weekend. Finish the book Sunday night. And,
I mean, that's a fair. And the other question too is I mean, the movie's kind of left open, and I just don't see this going past this. I mean, if there's another movie, it's going to be like Clown on Cornfield 2, Friendo Lives this week on some lame,
The director of Tucker and Dale versus Evil fame has said he's not in. For a trilogy. He said he wanted to make this one, and then he's off to other projects.
I mean, if you look at this right now, like 74%, it's getting about 74%, which is, that's not a bad thing. But it's just, this is the problem. And I'll read what the consensus says on Rotten Tomatoes. And this is kind of, I think, if you've read the books, it shoots yourself in the foot. If you've read the books, you're going to the movie to see if what you imagined in your head comes up on the screen. And for me, it wasn't, and for me, it was a letdown. I gave it a C, which I guess is about 74% if you're thinking about it from a grading perspective. But the website says Clown in a Cornfield doesn't. The website, the one, Rotten Tomatoes consensus says Clown in a Cornfield doesn't reinvent the corn maze, but its clever insights, subversion of expectations, and solid foundation slashes its way to the top. That's corny, but the subversion of expectations is probably the key word in there.
That makes sense.
Anyway, but if you look at like some very, some specific call outs, like RogerEbert.com gave it 2.5 out of 4. It said, I found Craig's film much more interesting when it was just allowed to be chaotic instead of when it was explaining the chaos. Bloody Disgusting, which is one of the premier horror movie site on the web, they gave it 3 out of 5. Said he tackles a mostly faithful adaptation with aplomb, bringing the right balance of gore and comedy for a zippy lean slasher. And then Owen Gleiberman of Entertainment Weekly fame and now at Variety, he said the film in its trivial way excludes a dyspeptic downer vibe, the result of everyone in it being so testy and unpleasant.
But
that's the point of it, though.
In the book, it's more obvious that this isn't. You're not. We should talk about it more after the news break because I have something to say about that because it's what I'm liking about the book. And
that's what's good about the book. It really makes you you're not a fan of the teenagers, and then as the show goes, as the book goes on, you're like, I think they're getting a bad rap here.
You start to see that, and it kind of, for me as an aging adult, it sort of, the book for me.
I mean, you're aging.
You are. The book for me sort of brought me back down. As the kids say, I was forced to touch grass and realize, every generation kind of goes through the same stuff. And our generation was just as irritating for our parents as and that was a nice reminder. And then to have that come about in a horror, we'll talk about it more. Clown in a Cornfield, actually in Logan too. Andy and I surprised both, playing at the Providence Megaplex tonight, and we'll keep talking about it and more. We're going to talk about some 80s movies that you've probably forgotten and should remember. That's coming up after this look at the news with KVNU's Will Feel Right.
Well, thank you, Jason. The Cache Valley Center for the Arts has unveiled its 2025-26 National Touring Season that'll be presented at the Ellen Eccles Theater. Now, the lineup was announced by Gavin Syme, the Cache Arts Marketing Director, during For the People yesterday. Now, the theater's touring show season will kick off early this year with So Good, the Neil Diamond Experience on August 2nd. Then, hailing from Canada, Waylon Jennings will take on the stage on September 11th. Now, some of the other shows will feature the Red Hot Chili Pipers on September 29th, introducing their bag rock fiery fusion of traditional Scottish bagpipes and rock and roll. And then closing out the 2025 season will be the high-energy award-winning celebration of percussion known as Stomp that'll have a 2-night stand December 2nd and 3rd. Meanwhile, April didn't provide Utah many favors after a complicated snowpack collection season. Now, last month was tied for Utah's 30th warmest April since 1895, and it was also the state's 32nd driest April during that span, according to National Centers for Environmental Information data. Now, overall snowmelt runoff volume projections have come down a bit to account for the drier conditions. That's according to a report that was published on Wednesday by the Natural Resources Conservation Service. Now, still, northern Utah is faring better than the southern part of the state, but overall, we can still use a lot more moisture. And the Democratic-controlled cities of Salt Lake City and Boise recently adopted new city flags this week, showing support for LGBTQ plus people in defiance of their state Republican-controlled legislatures. Now, Utah's capital of Salt Lake City created a new flag design, while Boise made the traditional pride flag one of its official city flags. Now, the move in Utah came hours before a ban on unsanctioned flag displays took effect on Wednesday. The city's mayors spoke Tuesday morning to discuss their individual plans and to offer each other support. Now, Idaho's flag ban took effect on April 3rd, and it bars government buildings from displaying any flags except those on a short list, including the U.S. flag, flags of the military branches, and official flags of government entities. Now, a separate ban containing some exemptions for school buildings will take effect July 1st. Supporters said the laws would encourage political neutrality from teachers and other government employees, but opponents have argued that they aim to erase LGBTQ plus expression and to also wrest authority from cities and towns that did not align politically with Republican legislatures. Well, another gorgeous afternoon as we've had temperatures today into the mid-70s. Tonight we're going to be down into the 50s, and then even warmer weather coming up for tomorrow as temperatures will be right around 83 for our high, still remaining sunny and clear through most of the day tomorrow before some clouds will come in on Saturday night, and that's going to start bringing us a chance of some scattered showers and thunderstorms. That'll start Sunday on Mother's Day and then continue into next week. Now, still Sunday, we'll see temperatures in the low 80s and then get back into the 70s for next week. And weather this hour as part of the news is brought to you by Edson Builders. They recently teamed up with innovative home finishes. And whether you're building on a budget or building your forever home, give them a call at 232-2680. And I'm Will Feelwright with your KVNU News headlines.
ABC News, I'm Dave Packer. The Trump administration considering suspending habeas corpus for undocumented immigrants, denying them their day in court. White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller.
The Constitution is clear, and that, of course, is the supreme law of the land, that the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus can be suspended in a time of invasion. So to say that's an option we're actively looking at.
A federal judge ordering the release of a Tufts University student from Turkey. Trump administration officials say Ramisa Öztürk lost her right to remain in the U.S. when she co-wrote an op-ed in her student newspaper urging Tufts to divest from firms with ties to Israel. Her jailing an egregious First Amendment violation, says the judge. Trade talks begin tomorrow in Geneva between the U.S. and China. The president's 145% tariffs on China have not as yet been met with any concessions. Another Newark airport radar outage today. Controller screens went dark while talking to a FedEx flight. The FAA says they're looking into it. This is ABC News.
Today's hearing aid technology can improve not only your life, but the lives of the people who care about you. Once again, you'll be able to hear the reason for their laughter and understand conversations. Dr. Paul Danes at Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology will customize a hearing improvement program to meet your unique requirements, whatever they are. Call Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology for an appointment and let them show you how.
Bring back what you've been missing. Bring back Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology.
Did you just build a home or remodel your current home? Well, if so, John at the Duct Hunter says you should have your heating ducts cleaned as soon as possible and change out to a high-quality furnace filter. The dust from construction, sawdust, drywall, and more is sitting in your ductwork. Your furnace filter's probably clogged. You'd be surprised what John has found in air ducts, toys, construction debris, and rodents. Let the Duct Hunter clean the ducts today. Call for a free consultation. The Duct Hunter, 770-4813.
We are the Duct Hunter. Breathe better, save money, protect your home. We are the Duct Hunter.
Chimney Fireplace loves to help people make it through the winter and stay warm.
Believe it or not, they even help people love the wintertime, but they also love summer. Because it's the best time to buy a Fireplace Extraordinaire gas fireplace. And now the best brand in the industry has electric fireplace options as well. To celebrate, Chim Chimney is offering free installation through August on any Fireplace Extraordinaire electric fireplace. They also have amazing deals on previous year models. See their newly remodeled showroom in Logan or find them online at chimchimney.com.
News for the People Movie Show with Andy Morgan joining us here in the studio. We've been talking about Clown in a Cornfield, and we don't have to spend much more time on it, Andy, but I just wanted to make the comment just before, because you were talking about some of the things that were sort of left out, and I just wanted to at least say to listeners, if subtle, not ham-handed, not beat you over the head with the social commentary, which I hate, mixed with like some very almost cheesy 80s horror movie scenes.
Yeah.
If that sounds intriguing to you, based on what Andy has told you about the movie, maybe go read this book first.
Yeah.
Because this is, I'm 3/4 of the way through it, and this is the most fun I've had reading a scary book in a really long time.
I would actually, to your point, here's what I'd say is, if this is any way, shape, or form interesting to you, I would actually do the opposite. I would go see the movie first. Go see the movie, and then if you like it, expand yourself on the book.
That's probably better advice.
Yeah, I mean these are quick reads.
Yeah,
you know,
like 175.
Yeah,
pages,
they're not super
like
long, and I actually think they get better. I thought book 2 and book 3 were fantastic. So
now book 3 is a little longer, I noticed.
Yeah, but again. Pretty good stuff. Anyhow.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the big release. There's another movie that's opening this weekend with Josh Hartnett because, after last year's
huge success.
Yeah, M. Night Shyamalan movie, which, by the way, I know at the time people were like, hey, this is pretty good. And I was like, yeah, it's not. You don't have to,
it's the same trick every time.
You don't owe Shyamalan anything.
It's the same trick every time. It's a quarter good.
Yeah.
It's excellent for 20 minutes.
Well, it's from some of the folks that did Bullet Train, which is actually a great movie.
I liked that one a lot.
And this one's called Fight or Flight, so it's, him on but it's set on an airplane this time, and it's, a bunch of bounty hunters on an airplane, just, how convenient.
Yeah, interestingly enough, that one's not in Logan.
No, it's not. I didn't.
Final Destination Bloodlines is.
Yeah, and that's
so we got Clown in a Cornfield and Final Destination. Bloodlines, two horror movies,
two big horror movies.
That's interesting.
I was traveling this week, so I did not. I did get a chance to see Clown in a Cornfield. That did line up with my schedule, but I did not get a chance to see the Final Destination Bloodlines, and I did not get a chance to see the Fight or Flight. We'll talk about Fight or Flight next week. I will say Thunderbolts that came out. Did you get a chance? You had seen it before, I think. We talked about
I saw it just before last Friday.
That did really well.
Amazing.
Yeah, it made $75 million last weekend.
Really?
That was. I don't know where that ranks as far as recent Marvel releases, but that's a big one.
I know that I was reading just today, Thunderbolts and Sinners are still battling it out for basically the best box office of the year so far.
Yeah, the question will be is what type of kind of staying power does Thunderbolts have? Because it's the big release, or even though there's Clown in a Cornfield and Final Destination, I think there's a relative chance that Final Destination could challenge Thunderbolts for the #1 movie this weekend. I don't think it will. You know what I mean? But again, it's a lot of it's just word of mouth.
These are surprisingly popular.
Yeah,
the Final Destination movies.
I think surprisingly popular is great, because
it's literally the same movie.
Yeah,
every time.
Yeah,
but I saw the first 2 or 3, and I thought it was admittedly, it is one of the more creative premises for a horror movie franchise.
Yeah,
it's far more creative than like Friday the 13th or any of those really. But yeah,
it's got a following.
Literally is the same movie every time.
Yeah, it definitely has a following. But yeah, but Thunderbolts did really well. I mean, I think it was a big release for Marvel. They have to feel pretty good about how that performed last week. You and I give it an A. I thought, it's deserving of all the success it gets.
Definitely.
As trite as it sounds, it is the best Marvel movie since, Endgame. There's just no way around it. But this week, like I said, again, not a ton of big releases. Clown in a Cornfield is probably the biggest one. Sinners is still playing. That's done phenomenally well at the box office. The one,
and if you haven't seen that, do.
Yeah, again, sounds like the University Theater is still.
Yeah, now fully closed.
Yeah.
Last week we still had a couple of films there. Now nothing is playing there, but no timeline on that renovation.
Yeah, and I when I talked to one of the workers there when I went and saw Revenge of the Sith, the re-release at University, he seemed to give it like it would be a couple weeks. So I'd be interested to see, again, if it opens up again.
I'm curious when
next weekend
this now. As opposed to like Oscar season when there's nothing coming out.
I thought about that too. Part of me thought, okay, maybe, maybe it's gearing up for the Mission Impossible week. But I don't.
Yeah, missing Thunderbolts and Sinners seems.
Well, I think Sinners played there for a little while because
Oh, that's right. They were still.
Yeah, it really didn't go down until I think last week was its first official full close.
Yeah,
this full week. So I maybe it has another week.
But I know they are showing, or were showing, Thunderbolts in two theaters in Providence.
And by the way, we told our listeners incorrectly. Final Destination is actually not opening this week. It's next Friday. It's the big release next Friday.
Oh, okay.
There's two next Friday actually. There's and calling the one a big release kind of makes me chuckle. But Final Destination's Bloodlines, that's next Friday.
Oh, so it's Flight or Flight that's this weekend.
But that's not in any theater.
Okay.
So again, the big release is Clown in a Cornfield. I shouldn't say big release, but that's the new movie opening. Thunderbolts again will most likely dominate, I would think, this weekend. But next week you got Final Destination Bloodlines, and then there's another movie from a director that I love. His name is Trey Edward Schultz, which is not a household name. It's called Hurry Up Tomorrow. And this movie, I don't know, did you, I'm trying to think, Trey Edward Schultz, there's a movie, I want to say almost probably going on a decade now that he just kind of blew up with a movie called Krisha. Very low budget movie about like a kind of a matriarch of a family, played by a lady by the name of Krisha Fairchild. I actually nominated her for Best Actress.
Really?
It was 10 years ago. It was 2015. And it's just, the movie is like just this twisting. It's not a scary movie.
No, but it's almost worse than a horror movie.
Yeah, it's just
tension-wise.
It's very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It really kind of put him on the map as like a very up-and-coming storyteller, director, writer. But yeah, Hurry Up Tomorrow is his newest movie that comes out next week. The two prior to that too, that some people may have seen. 2019, there was a movie called Waves. That I think missed the mark a little bit, was not my favorite. And then he has another one that came out in 2017 that I watched again during the pandemic called It Comes at Night. Do you remember that?
Yeah, this is one of my favorites.
It's good.
It wasn't a hit.
Yeah.
But it's honestly one of my favorite. Those movies that are horror movies but aren't.
Yeah.
Because this is a total spoiler, so turn your radio down for a second if you don't want to hear this. There's nothing supernatural in this.
No, there's not.
But it actually, back to M. Night's big foible. This is what The Village could have been.
For real.
So The Village sets up this great thing like, oh, monsters, but it's going to end up not being monsters. But then M. Night is like, but I'm going to make it lame too. This one doesn't do that.
Yeah.
You find out it's not monsters. You find out it's not some supernatural thing hunting them. And then it stays cool.
Yeah.
And gets cooler.
Yeah, and I think it's this the monster in this is that there's just some type of virus going around, and the horror portion of it is really less about
turning people against each other.
What's
basically
out in the woods, which people think, and more of what is the sort of monsters inside of us when we're scared and
because
we're in fear.
One of the scariest scenes in it comes at night, that you have two sets of couples, a husband and a wife and a boyfriend and girlfriend, that are in two different rooms in a cabin, one above the other one. And that is one of the scariest scenes in the movie.
Yeah.
But that's it.
You're
just seeing the interiors of these two rooms and the conversations that are happening. And that is so tense.
It is. I wanted to say, too.
I didn't realize that was the same director. I might have to go see Hurry Up tomorrow.
We'll have to talk about this more next week, especially where, Final Destination is coming out. And that, that came, I think, late 90s. But when I was in Texas this past week, some people brought up some 80s movies, and we were talking about this is where it came up. We were talking about how great of an actor Joaquin Phoenix is.
Oh,
and I made this as a joke. Let's see if you can follow this train of thought here. Somebody said, "I wonder where he learned." Oh, and then they said, "Have you seen the movie Her?" Where he's got the romantic relationship with his AI device. And I said, yeah. I said, I said, but that's not the first time he had a friendship with a robot. And they were like, well, what was that? And I said, when he was little and he was in space camp.
Yeah.
And I said, and he had the Jinx, the robot. Have you seen Space Camp? Jinxing Max to space. You know what I'm talking about.
80s were a different time.
I loved Space Camp, man. It was Kate Capshaw, coming off of her Indiana Jones fame. It had Tom Skerritt pre Top Gun.
I forgot Tom Skerritt.
And Tate.
Jinx, it's okay. We're all feeling a lot of things.
Yeah, there you go.
Each of us needs some resolve.
Jinx and Max to space. Yeah. That's the premise of the movie, right?
Jinx is just a flashlight on a tube that somebody's moving up and down, because those were 80s special effects.
Max was so sad that he, and so Jinx is like, you know what? I'll just launch the Challenger with you guys in it.
As good robot friends do.
Yeah, but it also had Leah Thompson from Back to the Future. It had
about that
Kelly Preston. It had
to watch this stupid movie.
I actually really like it. I was looking last night to see if they had it on Blu-ray or 4K. But so we started talking about Space Camp, and then we're like, what other 80s movies were there? Because everybody remembers Star Wars, everybody remembers E.T. and Raiders of the Lost Ark.
The big ones.
Yeah, and even some of the, John Hughes type of stuff. But I started thinking of ones like, here's one that popped up, and you tell me if you saw this.
Wait, hold. Did you want to tease everybody? We got one more break to go to.
I'm just going to say two words: Mitch Gaylord.
Oh, I know where he's going. All right. Stick around. Obscure 80 movies you forgot about but should rediscover right after this.
News Talk 610 AM, 102.1 FM, KVNU.
For 100 years, we've fueled adventure without limits. And at Murdoch Hyundai, the journey's only just begun. It's time to chase your next adventure, from epic road trips to daily drive. Right now, receive 3.49% for 5 years on the Elantra, Kona, Tucson, and Santa Fe. And every new Hyundai comes with America's Best Warranty, a 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty, and owner's assurance. When you walk through our doors, you feel like family. At Murdoch Hyundai in Logan, Linden, and Murray, and online at murdochhyundai.com.
Call 888-391-6080 or see dealer for complete details. Offer expires 6/2/2025.
If you have an aging loved one who could use a little extra help, you may wonder how much help is needed. Legacy House of Logan may be what you're looking for. Their different levels of care can accommodate your loved one no matter his or her needs. From daily tasks like dressing and bathing and medical administration to more advanced care for those with dementia. Legacy House of Logan offers all the comforts of home with a caring staff who really know how to take care of your loved ones. We invite you to stop by and see if Legacy House of Logan is right for your loved one on 1400 North in Logan.
Wrapping up today's movie show with Andy Morgan, talking obscure 80s movies you might want to remember. Andy kicked things off with Space Camp, starring a 5-year-old Joaquin Phoenix. Well, 10, maybe. And then we just been trying to remember.
Still don't have to be at Space Camp.
Oh, Whitewater Summer with Kevin Bacon.
Oh, and what was Sean Astin is in that?
Yeah,
I actually
these are coming back to me.
I think in that movie Sean Astin gets bullied a lot by Kevin Bacon, and I'm not gonna lie, kind of enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I was like, I really don't like Sean Astin. He
was a jerk in that one. Oh, remember 3 O'Clock High?
Yeah.
That we all had to see because it was filmed in Ogden.
Yeah.
And it's dark and unpleasant.
Yeah, we were. Here's the other one I was remembering. So, 2, American Anthem. This was, coming. This is 1986. So this is coming out of the 1984 Los Angeles Olympics.
And this is actually a good movie.
And one of the, stars of the Olympics was this gymnast, Mitch Gaylord. So this movie is like a gymnastics drama.
Yeah.
It also starred Janet Jones, who went on to marry Wayne Gretzky.
If I remember correctly, a lot of leg warmers in this movie, too.
Yeah, a lot of leg warmers. But yeah, it's
the fluffy ones.
It's just drama. He's like this, bad boy gymnast. That's even a thing. And, and
you just can't say that without a smile on your face, can you? Bad boy gymnast.
It's got 4.9 out of 10.
A fencer from the wrong side of the tracks.
4.9 out of 10 on IMDb. But yeah.
When the president of the chess club goes wrong.
The other one I thought of was, do you remember a movie with Matt Dillon called The Flamingo Kid?
Oh, yes.
Where it's this, kind of...
Oh, this was the beginning of the end for Matt Dillon.
This was like blue-collar Matt Dillon. He lives in New Jersey, gets a job working at a resort.
Everything for a good movie, and somehow...
Well, and it was kind of this, hey, your dad, Hector Elizondo, he really wants to teach you about, go work with him. And no, Dad. And then Richard Crenna was
too much of a rebel.
Yeah, Richard Crenna was the rich, kind of quasi-dad. It was like, let me show you how, anyway.
Here's a good one. The Ice Pirates.
Oh, I remember the Ice Pirates.
It was a space movie.
Yeah.
But a little more like Dune than Star Wars. And they're ice pirates.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because
it's actually kind of funny.
One of the things we were talking about in this discussion was that, you came out of 1983 with Return of the Jedi ending, and everyone wanted a replacement for Star Wars. We wanted a replacement for Indiana Jones. We needed something.
Yeah.
To kind of keep that going.
Disney desperately. It's ironic they ended up buying Star Wars because Disney tried for years with the Black Hole, The Last Starfighter.
I love the Black Hole and The Last Starfighter.
Yeah.
Those are
tried
good
forever
those are good picks.
to get in on some of that Star Wars cash. And then they're like, well, we'll just wait 30 years and buy the company.
Yep. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, I mean, it worked out for them. They're making the money now. But Knight Riders. These are from listeners. Knight Riders. The Legend of Billie Jean.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
We should probably talk about that next week.
Yeah. Just One of the Guys. That one does not hold up well.
That was remade as She's the Man.